Hello and welcome back to Read Becca, or welcome if you're new. I don't know exactly what happened, but in the past week I gained quite a few new subscribers, beyond normal for sure. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but perhaps, I think maybe they came from John from Hey Y'all Listen Up, tagged me, and I won a giveaway from Realm of Words and Pages. So thank you to John and December for tagging me on those. And welcome if you're new here. This is my weekly catch up on everything I've read and everything I'm currently reading and everything I'm looking forward to reading in the next week. So let's jump right in with my ebook audiobook stuff. So the first thing I will have a full review of, and this is When We Were Birds by Ayonna, Lloyd, Banwo. This is a magical realism book from a Trinidadian author about kind of a fictional place in Trinidad, and it's really beautifully written. It's written in Trinidadian English, and some of the characters' dialogue is in even stronger dialect. So what that means is there's like no possessiveness or tense to the writing for the most part. So he go rather than he went, I think that's the example I used before. And I thought the writing was very lush. You definitely get a sense of setting and place with this. It was a strong debut that I really want to read more from the author. The pacing is very slow, which is pretty typical of magical realism, and the style there is like the magic, you never really know what's going on for sure. It's not really explained, but this is a story about these two characters who are connected by death. One who picks a job as a gravedigger, and that turns out to be more than just a gravedigger. But his elements are not magical. However, the other character, her mother has just died, and there is this ability to reach and talk to the dead and kind of carry them on that is passed through the matriarchal line of her family. And so she understands this, but she has a contentious relationship with her mom. So at the start, she is dealing with the death of her mother and also still talking to her mother. And that's a really interesting dynamic. So I will have a full review of this. I've got it all done, but I just did not have the energy to edit, to trim this week. And I definitely is going to take some trimming. But this is an advanced reader copy that I had gotten, so thank you very much to the publisher and author and NetGalley for that. And it is out this week, so you can already get your hands on it. So I'll get that review up within the next few days. Then I read one that was less beautiful, a little bit miserable, in fact, but not too much to its detriment. So I listened to Anthem by Hawley. This one was, as I said, really miserable. It's not mentioned in the synopsis, I don't think, but I would say I have to mention this as a content warning. So not really a spoiler because it happens right away, but it seems like everything is trying to obscure this fact. This is about an epidemic. It takes place a couple years in our future, I think 2 years from now. So framed here is that we have just gotten over COVID and gone back to normal, and there is an epidemic going around, starting at this point. But that epidemic is youth suicide. So teens are just increasingly starting from a central point and expansively to the point of hundreds of thousands dying by suicide. So that's a really difficult topic. This whole thing is just full of difficult topics, I would say. It's not fun or light reading. So this epidemic is breaking out, and we're following many characters, everything from people involved in politics. So I think the main character that it mentions here is a woman who is a judge that is potentially being tapped as a Supreme Court justice, and her daughter has just gone missing. So we also follow a couple of teenagers as they're at a, I don't know what to call it. It's kind of a rehab center sort of thing, like a for the wealthy. It is to help their mental health. So obviously this place is full of these kids that they're trying to really prevent from actually going forward with having suicidal thoughts, that sort of thing. So we're following these teenagers as some of them are there, some of them leave. I don't know how to say more about that without spoiling it, but it winds up in this kind of journey around the world to find some siblings or friends and save them from bad circumstances. So in at least one case, this involves a Jeffrey Epstein type character who is pretty gross and incredibly wealthy and can get away with anything because of his wealth. And so he's doing really horrible things, and you get a lot of information about grooming and pedophilia. So there's that. We have the political elements of this Supreme Court appointment and the conflict between conservative and liberal sides. There's also a very weird element where certain characters are known by kind of monikers, even though, I mean, they're just normal people. There's no like fantastical element to this. So for some reason they call the president the God King. They call one of the kids is the prophet. This Epstein character, they call him the wizard, but all these people also have names. Yeah, so there are certainly these bizarre elements to it for sure, and it does get increasingly amped up and more bizarre as things go on. So really what you're watching happen is a societal destabilization over the course of this, but from the perspective of these characters who just care about individuals and are trying to save an individual person. But meanwhile, everything around is like at times literally on fire. Because a lot of this takes place in California, so there are wildfires, there are natural catastrophes that are happening around the world, and it's so odd, or it's kind of expected. The writing is told in a way where we're addressed, the reader is addressed. So in the audio, there is an audio narrator, but Noah Hawley himself also has sections where he just is talking to the reader. So it's extremely strange. I would say this reminded me a little bit of Rejoice, A Knife to the Heart by Steven Erikson, in that the story is mainly these socio-political commentary and then philosophizing about that, sprinkled in with a little bit of plot. So really it's all about the ruminating. It's not as much about the plot. And I kind of knew that going in. I really love Hawley's show Legion. He's a TV writer and like creator, everything. So I knew that going in, and this definitely was that for sure. I would also liken this to Don't Look Up, if you have seen that recent film, where that is extremely focused on climate change as a problem and the socio-political discussion of like all of the challenges to actually getting forward movement on that. This is like that, but instead of just focusing on climate change, this is everything that's wrong in the world. So, and it's viewed through a lens of generational divide. There are moments where at one point a son and a father are having a discussion about this, and the dad is so blasé and is like, you know, when I was young, we blew everything out of proportion too. You're just catastrophizing. And the kid is like, the house is on fire and you're pouring a drink, Dad. You know, so this captures very perfectly that sense of how much young people are overwhelmed with information, and they act disaffected, or adults think they're disaffected, when in reality there is just so much and so heavy on them. So it really captured that so well, to the point that many times in the writing there are just these factoids. So at one point there are some characters that are looting a Walmart. So things like that, Walmart, Amazon, are just kind of thrown in without too much commentary, but they're looting a Walmart, and then there are just sentences, like specifically 2 sentences in the middle were, Paris was 110 degrees yesterday. There are more guns in America than people. So there are just things like that thrown in, and I don't know if they're entirely real, or, you know, there are citations of specific catastrophes, like you're getting almost news chyrons. So this is just an information overload, I would say. And I didn't love it, but I think it was very effective at what it was trying to do. It was a great thought experiment. I did not like the ending so much. It's very inconclusive. It doesn't have closure. I would say. And the entire epilogue is Hawley addressing the reader about that and talking about his own daughter and the reasons that she made him think about this. So he has a reason for going that way and it being very real, but I don't know that I loved it. I really wanted some closure and like some understanding, but there isn't. So yeah, overall, I can't say I liked it. It was very miserable to read, but I think it was a very effective book. I don't think it was a thriller. It lacks the tension to be a thriller, but it was a very good sci-fi dystopia, I think. Then I DNF'd one. So my DNF, and I think DNFs are becoming a habit for me. I've never been a big DNFer. I can almost always find something good in finishing a book. So I don't really regret finishing books usually, but I'm trying to get to the point where things that are clearly going to have major problems for me, I just DNF it rather than continuing to save myself that time. So this one was an 8-hour audiobook and I got through 4 hours of it. So I saved myself 4 hours. So that book was Hello, Transcriber by Hannah Morrisey. And this has such a great premise. So we have a character who is a writer, and she takes a job as a police transcriber because she's an incredible typist, and she wants to do that to kind of have time to do research and everything so she can start her writing. And she is just starting this job as there is a serial overdose problem happening with children. So these young children are being found dead from prescription drug overdoses, and this is being called the Candyman. So she's now getting all the information from these recordings that she's meant to transcribe. So that premise is so incredible. It's really interesting, and I want to read that book. But that's not what this book is. It's completely obscured by her being in a toxic, horrible, abusive relationship, her thinking constantly about how much she dislikes her husband. He's really abusive to the point that she's clearly being raped. Yeah, it's awful. And then as a result, she is this woman who any sort of positive attention toward her is just amazing in her mind. And so she winds up getting into an affair. And so most of this book is her hating her husband and delighting over every little thing about this affair that's happening. And that's what most of the book is, as far as I got. And I really, really did not like it. I want more of the actual plot, of the crime plot. So unfortunately, that was a DNF. I was not into it at all. Then we have my physical stuff. So I finished my big chunky book for BookTube Prize. I can't really talk about it. This is The Republic of False Truths by Aswany. And I actually really like this cover compared to the ones that I saw on Goodreads originally and on the prize. I can't talk about the book, but this one is Egyptian Revolution, the protests / massacre at Tahrir Square. That's what this was all about. And then I started my next one, which is The Passenger, another light reading. This is by Ulrich Alexander Boschowitz and translated by Phillip Boehm. And this one is about Jews disappearing from Germany in 1938, written by a Jew in 1938. So some more light reading, but that's my last one for the BookTube Prize. So got a couple weeks to finish it up. I'm getting close. This one's only 200 pages, so I am hoping to get through it this weekend, maybe, fingers crossed. I've been reading very slowly. Yeah, so that is all my reading. It was very heavy reading this week. I started Hello Transcriber because I was waiting. I needed an audiobook in between my hold for All the Queen's Men by SJ Bennett, and that came in, thankfully. That's why I wound up DNFing, because I'm just gonna flip over to that. So I haven't started it yet, but I do expect to get into that this weekend. I think that is it on all my reading stuff. So lots of books. Then watching stuff. I finished up season 5 of Amazing Race, and it was a lot of fun. One of teams that made it to the end is a team that came back in season 31, which I watched before I started over. And so it was really fun to see them originally and how much they have changed in the 15 years or so since. I also watched Windfall, which was a new movie out, I think it's this weekend, from Netflix. And that one has Jesse Plemons and Lily Collins and Jason Segel. It's a very like kind of arty movie. It's the thing where it's just those three characters in isolated locations so they can really act, and it's very slow and dramatic. I think it was quite good in general, but it didn't really blow me away. It was very okay. What else? I think that is it for my watching stuff. In terms of life stuff, so I'm trying to avoid a lot of things, but just everything in the world is really getting to me. My energy level is like down the drain right now. I don't know, I went to the store and came home today and was like, I need a nap. So I don't know what's going on with that, but maybe the time change, and very exciting news that we're getting rid of daylight savings time in the US. It won't be till next year, I believe, but man, oh man, that was long past due. I have to say, the Sunshine Protection Act is possibly the stupidest name. Like, you can tell whoever came up with that was a horrible narcissist. But I'm glad they did it regardless. There has been a lot in the news. I'm overwhelmed with everything that's going on with LGBTQ legislation. Has been horrible. The things coming out of Russia, Ukraine are continuing to be horrible. The reporter that protested on air and has disappeared. One thing that I haven't seen people really talking about is, and for good reason, I'm sure people are sick of talking about it, but Shenzhen went into lockdown this week. And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit. I know Hong Kong is also really impacted, and BBC was reporting that there's an uptick in virus cases as well. So all of that is virus related. And I don't say that to like be panicking or freaking out or anything. I mean, with things reopening, that's very expected. That the BBC numbers are very within, it's like 5 to 7%. So it's people just being out and about, hopefully. But just be mindful, be safe and caring with yourself, because reopening is going to mean some uptick, and we are going to continue to see variants. I know they announced yet another variant this week, but continue to keep yourself safe, because that is going to keep happening. And if we do see more virulent strains coming, it's going to be extremely difficult for people who are immunocompromised to have that normal life and to see that return to normalcy that you're appreciating. And the people being out and not being safe are going to make it worse for them. So just be caring and respectful of others by, taking all your safety measures that you can possibly. So be aware, pay attention to what's going on, and keep yourselves healthy. I think that's all for my week. I don't really have anything to talk about. Weather has been really nice and warm. I had to turn on the AC in order to keep my dog cool because he overheats really easily. And it rained yesterday, and it's supposed to rain more this week, I think like 4 out of 7 days. So that will be great for reading, but it's sunny right now and a little bit cooler than it was, but still very, very nice. We got out for a great walk. So there's some outdoor footage outside for you to enjoy at the end here. And then my recommendations for the week, I had just a couple. So in BookTube stuff, I had Spread Book Joy. Jack did a wonderful pair of videos on why adults should read middle grade, which I love. I'm a big proponent of reading children's books in middle grade, so I love that. I also absolutely adored Lindy Magpie Reads Readathon video. Lots of great books in there, but also some food, and I think incredibly daring. Lindy made some kimchi, and that's really exciting. And then the last one is just a song. So Amanda Palmer, who is a musician, she was in the Dresden Dolls. She has done solo stuff. She is or was married to Neil Gaiman. They broke up about a year ago, maybe, as far as I know, but they're still amicable and still co-parenting their son. But she did a cover of Surface Pressure from Encanto, which I have not seen it still. I don't have Disney Plus, but really fantastic. She's known for having very raw emotional style, and she really gets that across in the song. So I will link all of those recommendations down below, and I think that's it for my week. As usual, I have rambled on much too long. Thank you so much for watching. My crocuses are just going absolutely crazy. It's time for afternoon cat naps. Look at those tufty toes. Hey, look at that lady. What are you doing, toe tuft? Ripley. Hello, squirrel. What are you doing?